Hi, Edison. All right, so if you have a problem that looks like this, I wanted you to take note of your equation, okay? Let me see. All right, I want you to take note of your equation. So you have a fraction right here and another fraction right here. See this division sign? Now, when you have a fraction right here, like this expression, this is what you call a rational function, okay? It's a rational function. And that basically means you have a fraction wherein you have some sort of x in the denominator. As long as you have some sort of x in the denominator, it's called rational function. Okay, so this is rational because it has x in here, and also this is also rational and it has x in here. Now, the first thing that you needed to do is determine the values of x that will never work. Okay, values of x that will never work. That will never work. Okay, and it will never work when your denominator is equal to 0. Look at this one here. Say for example you have 5 divided by x. Okay, what value of x will make this 0? Of course, when your x is equal to 0, 5 divided by 0, you cannot do that. This is undefined. Okay, you cannot divide a number by 0, and you can use your calculator and you will know that it will give you an error because you cannot divide a number by 0. Now, for example, we have this 5 over x minus 1. Okay, what value of x will make this whole thing 0? What value of x will make your denominator 0? So that's basically when your x, you cannot have an x that is equal to 1. Why is that? Because if you put 5 over, when your x is 1, 1 minus 1, it becomes 5 over 0. Okay? So therefore, you cannot have x that is equal to 1. Let's say another example. Let's say 5. It could be any number on top. It doesn't matter whatever is your numerator. You just need to worry for now about your denominator. Say if you have 2x plus 6. Okay, what value of x will make 2x plus 6? All of these denominator right here. What value of x will make this 0? Okay, so did you figure out that if x is equal to -3, 2 times -3 is -6, right? Plus 6, that makes it 0. So therefore, you cannot have an x that is equal to -3. All right, so using that knowledge, let's look at this one here. You have one rational expression here. You have x plus 1. So therefore, what value of x will make this equal to 0? Okay, you cannot have an x that is equal to -1. Why is that? If this is -1 plus 1, that becomes 0. You cannot have an x that is equal to -1. Okay? Now, on this other side here, you cannot also have an x not equal. This is not equal. You cannot have an x that is equal to 3 because if your x is equal to 3, that will make it 0. Okay? So these are your first restrictions. Any number might possibly work, but you just cannot choose these numbers. All right? Now, you can, just like what your book has mentioned, you can cross multiply this, combine these two fractions, and then solve it. But that will be very complicated. So the good suggestion is you may need to factor this numerator right here, and then also factor this one. Okay, so let's factor this. If you have problem you're factoring, you may have to practice that, and you can find a lot of videos on factoring. All right. So when you factor the top, okay, so this one here becomes, well, this is a trinomial. You can get this one ready like this, and then you put your x plus 1 in the denominator, all right, plus this one is also a trinomial, so you can put two parentheses, meaning we're getting ready for your two factors, all right, and the other one is x minus 3. All right, so let's factor this first numerator right here. Okay, so this basically means you need to think of two numbers such that when you multiply, it will give you -3. What are two numbers that when you multiply, this is multiplication sign, when you multiply will give you a -3, but also these two numbers, when you add, will give you -2, which is the middle term right here. Okay, so since negative 3, really, there's just two numbers there, 1 and 3. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. Okay, so let's try. If one factor is 1 and the other factor is negative 3, when you multiply that, that will give you negative 3. But when you add 1 plus negative 3, will that give you negative 2? Yeah, actually it does. So therefore, these are the two numbers that you're looking for. So in this two parentheses right here, you write x and also x. This is for the x squared. And then your two factors are positive 1 and negative 3. So you can just write positive 1 here and negative 3 here. Okay, so that's how you factor. Now in the same manner, we will do the same thing on this side. Okay, so two factors that will give you negative 4. Okay, two numbers that when you multiply will give you negative 24, but when you add will give you positive 5. Okay, here are some factors of 24. You have 4 and 6. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. You can try this. 4 times 6 is negative 24, but when you add negative 4 and 6, it will give you negative 2, a positive 2. So that will not work. Okay, another factor of 24, 2 and 12. One has to be negative, one is positive. When you add this, it will give you negative 10. So therefore not positive 5. How about 8 and 3? If this is positive 3, 8 and this is negative 3, 8 times negative 3, that's negative 24. When you add this, that will give you positive 5. So therefore we have winners here. You have 8 and negative 3. So when you multiply that, will give you negative 24. When you add 8 plus negative 3, it will give you 5. So you can put that one here. You can start by writing your x and also x. This is for your x squared. And then you write your positive 8 and negative 3. And then let's complete the equation. Equals 13. All right. Okay, so now look at this. This is your factor. This is your fraction. This your denominator is x plus 1, so which is pretty much the same as this. So this will cancel out. And this x minus 3 is also up here. So you have the same number in your numerator. It will cancel out. So therefore, what's left? We have this x minus 3 plus this one here, x plus 8 is equal to 13. And you combine like terms, x plus x, you have 2x, negative 3 plus 8, you have 5 is equal to 13. And we solve for x, we subtract 5 here, minus 5 here. Okay, so you have 2x is equal to 8. Okay, so therefore, let me continue here. 2x is equal to 8. Therefore, your x is equal to 4. All right, so x has to be 4. Okay,